Good evening, everyone. And I am deeply pleased to be in your midst. This program I call The Lust of the Flesh, Meet Your Meat. This is not an easy program for me to give. And most of the time when I give this program, it's the last program, and I'm on my way out the door. First of all, I want to just clarify some things. I'm not here to try to get people to change the way they eat or their lifestyle. I don't have the power to do that. The Holy Spirit had to direct you. You know your needs, you know your physical needs, you know what your body needs. All I can do is speak on my experience in working with people. Most people have eaten themselves into the condition they have. All these problems that we are having is not the product of circumstance. It just happened, you know, the aging process, we just haven't, it just happened. That is not the case. Most of the problems we have, I'm not saying all, most of the problems, we cultivated these habits, we cultivated these problems through habits, and we brought them on. And it should not be. The Bible has given a lot of evidence that you don't have to be feeble, in pain, and sickly if you follow God's word. And if anyone should be healthy, it should be a Christian. There are people in other countries, like the Hunzus in Asia. These people live way up in their hundreds. Women at 80 years old are still bringing forth children. Old men have the strength of young men. That's in Hunza land. They live up in the Himalayan mountains. They're world famous for their longevity. These people are Muslims. Now, did you hear what I said? They're not Christians. And that to me is a slap in the face of a Christian. Most Christians are some of the sickest people in the world. And God said, I wish above all things that you prosper and be in health. He wished. That don't mean he have demand that you be, or he forced you to be healthy. He's simply saying, I wish. A wish is based on cooperation. Cooperation with one or more people. Because God can't wish it and it happens. He's simply wishing that you would what? Hearken to the voice of the Lord. And if you would hearken to his voice, then you will receive the blessing, because he's there to help you accomplish those things. If you look at diabetes, diabetes is brought about by high consumption of starches and fats and sweets. And high blood pressure, high cholesterol, cardiovascular problems come about from high consumption of protein fats. And so this high consumption of these foods and many other lay the foundation of our problems. Now, what can we do about that? God has put it in us to do something. And we can do a lot to reverse the course of disease. It's going to take an effort. It's going to take really getting down to it. But God has given us the tools. All of us here have something to give into this process. Nobody has everything. And it took a collective amount of efforts from different people, different persuasions, different beliefs and denominations to make this happen. It happened because of cooperation and unity. And so it's going to take that if we're going to change the course of disease here in Bismarck, North Dakota. This is not a healthy place at all. And it has nothing to do with the cold weather, because actually cold weather is really better for health when you think about it, because disease like a hot, dry, humid climate. So as I introduce this to you, I'm going to just give one disclaimer and I get started. it is not my fault. It's not. I'll be honest with you, it's not. I'm just trying to be obedient. That's it. You know, I got a choice. I can make you happy and make somebody else upset at me. So I decided that I can get in this plane and I can leave here and I don't have to see you no more. But when I get in that plane, I got to depend on him to let it land safely. I don't want to upset him. So I'm going to do what he tells me to do. I'm sorry. In Matthew, the 5th chapter, verse 18. For verily I say unto you, until heavens and earth pass, one jot or one tittle shall in no wise pass from the law till all be fulfilled. And so the law of God is still intact. I don't care how much we want to try to dissect it and to fit it to our own mold, it's still intact. Not one dot or tittle has been removed from the law. And I know we want to try to fix it so it match what we want, but it won't do that. Now God is merciful. God will contend with you if you contend with him. But at the same token, God will lead you step by step. So his law is intact, but his law is more than his commandments. His law is also governed the natural law, our health law. Those health laws are still intact. So we need to be reminded that if we break the moral law, you also will break the natural law. When God said, thou shalt not kill, and if you eat yourself to death, you are killing yourself. And so you are a lawbreaker. In Genesis, the 1st chapter, verse 29, and God said, behold, I have given you every herb bearing seed, which is upon the face of all the earth, and every tree in which is the fruit of a tree, yielding seed, to you it shall be for meat. Now, in the beginning, when God had created a perfect world and a perfect environment, and he created a perfect man to complement a perfect world. And so if man was perfect, without spot, without blemish, his atmosphere is perfect. Everything about him is perfect. Matter of fact, he's so perfect, he has the very image of God. He is as perfect as God. Now think about that a minute. And you may have some reservations that Adam was as perfect as God was. Now it was because God said, be ye therefore perfect, even as what?
Father is perfect.
Now if he's told us that in the New Testament, then God also told Adam that. Because Adam was in his perfection, and God did not create him any lower perfection than he expects us to arrive at. But how can we be perfect? It's a struggle. Is it possible? Because we find ourselves continuously falling on our face and sinning, and we reach a point where we cannot reach a state of perfection because sin seems to always dominate us. In ourselves, we cannot be perfect. That's the absolute truth. But if we will let this mind that was in Jesus Christ preside in us, then the mind of Christ will be perfect in us. Okay? So it won't be my perfection, but it'll be Christ's perfection that what? Abides in me. So that when the Father see me, he see his Son in his perfection. Because me and Christ have become what? One creature. We are married together. We are one flesh. That's how much the Father loves us. So he is telling us, he said, look, I'm going to give you a perfect diet. Now, this is what God wanted man to be. He wanted man to always be perfect. He never planned for the fall of man. He made no provision for that. He wanted to be perfect always. He didn't want man to know anything about evil or sin. God knew about sin. He knew the consequence of sin. And so when man fell, man became like God in a sense. He knew the difference between good and evil. God never intended for him to know that. And so God said to him, said to this perfect man, I'm going to give you a diet. He said, I have given you every herb bearing seed. Now everything that grows from the earth have to have a seed, which is upon the face of all the earth. And every tree in which is the fruit of a tree yielding seed, to you it shall be for meat. So that word meat, in the numerical understanding, meat means chicken, beef, pork, whatever, fish. But that's in the numerical understanding, it does. But in the biblical understanding, meat means food. All right? Meat means food. So, and so God said, I'm going to give you some food. And the food going to grow on a tree. And the food will produce a fruit that will have a seed in it. And so any food that do not have a seed, God did not create it. Did you believe that? God did not create seedless grapes, seedless oranges, and seedless apples. That is the amalgamation of ingeniousness of man. Okay? And man is smart. So man figured out how he could cross-pollinate the fruit and the food, so it makes it convenient for you to eat, so you don't have to chew and spit out no seeds. And he knew that if he could do that, you would buy the fruit and he would make more money from it. And so he's always looking for ways to make it attractive for you to eat. He took bread. He said, well, now look, white bread is more appealing than brown bread. And so he decided that if we really want to sell more bread, we need to make it more appealing. So he simply processed it and bleached it and made it white to make it right. And everybody loved white bread. And you have a hard time dealing with brown, coarse, heavy bread. All right? So that's man amalgamated. Now God did all of this perfection for a perfect man. And then he said in the 30th verse, and to every beast of the earth, and to every fowl of the air, and to everything that creepeth upon earth, wherein there is life, I have given the green herbs for meat. And it was so. So God gave the vegetation, your broccoli, your cabbage, your greens, your grass, God gave that to who? The beasts, the animals. He didn't give the vegetables to Adam, right? Based on this scripture. He didn't do it. Now, man was created at a higher state than the animals. The animals were created at a little lower state. And so the animals they cultivated their substance from the earth. Man gleaned his substance from above, the tree. And as he reached up to gather his fruits from the tree, he knew that all substance came from God. And so, but the beast, he took it from the earth. And so there's a big difference between the fruit of the tree and the vegetables of the field. Man had no need for vegetables at all. None. He didn't need collard greens and turnip greens and broccoli and kale. He didn't need wheatgrass. Didn't need none of that. All he needed was apples, oranges, bananas, and so on, okay? And nuts and seeds and grains. And now, so God seen what he did, and he said, it's good, it's very good for a perfect man. But something happened. Man and mankind was tempted, and they fell victim to sin. Sin changed things all around. Satan was a roaring foe in the earth, and he came and he tempted the woman, and she partook of the food that she shouldn't have eaten of. There was nothing chemically wrong with the food at all. There was nothing about it that would make you sick. It was just as delicious as all the other food. The only thing that prohibited it was God said, don't do it. See, that's kind of like a daddy laying out the rules for the house. And anytime you have a household, a family, you got to have some rules to go by. And he laid out some rules, and it was very easy to follow. He said, look now, the rules of the house is you don't touch or eat this food right here. Leave that alone. He said, that's mine. Don't bother that. But she violated and she ate. And she disobeyed God. And you know the consequence of that? They sinned. Sin was conceived that very moment when sin was conceived and acted upon, and they fell victims to sin. What happened to that righteous nature, that holiness, that perfection that they had? It's gone. You know what Adam said? God said, "Where art thou, Adam?" And Adam was where? Hiding in the garden. He said, "Why are you hiding, Adam?" He said, "I was afraid." Well, Adam, why are you afraid? Because Adam had done something he shouldn't have done. How did Adam learn to be afraid? He didn't know nothing about fear. He wasn't afraid of God before he fell. One moment ago, he had a perfect mind. But after sin, he had a fallen nature. Now, in that fallen nature, he cannot please God. He can't do it. He can make all the efforts. He can go through all the dynamics. He can do everything in his world to try to make God happy, but he can't please God. Not with a fallen nature. And let's look at it. He was hiding. He was afraid. He said, "Look, honey, we need to change the way we dress." He said, "Because if we don't, when God comes, he going to see we naked, and he going to know we sin, and he ain't going to like that. But because he's my daddy, if I just at least show him I'm trying to do the best I can." All right? That's the human nature. And so Adam said, "We're going to try to do the best I can so that when God sees us, God will say, hey, at least they're trying to do all right." That's one of the biggest problems with Christians now. They are trying to do something to be pleasing to God. They're trying to save themselves. Adam was trying to save himself. Eve was trying to save herself. They was trying to cover their sins so that God will at least see they're making a human effort to do right. What did God do when he came and he saw them in their human efforts? He didn't accept it. He didn't. God did not accept them little fig dresses that they had on, exposing themselves, trying to cover up their sins. You can't hide from God. So God had to do what? He had to remove them little fig garments that had no blood in it, because see, what they thought was that they could cover sin without the shedding of blood. And you can't do it. If you're gonna cover sin, it has to be covered in the blood. And so God has given a substitute system to atone for them until Jesus Christ will shed his blood. And so the blood of the lambs and animals will serve the purpose until that took place. But in those fig leaves, there was no blood. There was only deception and hiding. And so God didn't accept it. So God had to go, take an animal, a lamb possibly, and he had to take the skin off of a lamb. Adam didn't do it. God did it. And he what? He clothed them with skins of a slain beast. How do you think God must have felt when he did that? I mean, here's an innocent animal that had to forfeit his life to cover our sins. God was teaching the gospel. He was teaching that one day my son would come in humanity and that he would die to cover our sins. So every time Adam got up and Eve got up in the morning, they dressed themselves and put on their skins, coats of skin, and they looked at themselves and their heart just melted. It hurt them to see that an innocent creature died to cover their sins. But God ain't finished with Adam. Now, God must find a way to restore Adam. God must enact the plan of salvation, the plan of redemption to save Adam. In Genesis 3:15, God reveals the plan of salvation to Adam. When he brought it out that Satan going to bring some pain, but in the end I'm going to smash his head. That was the plan of salvation. That was the hope Adam had. Even though he may suffer these human pain and anguish, the hope was that one day we're going to destroy Satan and all power going to be taken from him. And so Adam then began to look for that blessed time. And so God then said, Adam, I'm going to give you some vegetables. I'm going to give you some vegetables to eat. You see, once Adam had a fallen nature, he had stooped to the level of a beast. And so God said, I'm going to let you eat vegetables because the vegetables will help restore you back to perfection. And so God told Adam that in the vegetables there are essential elements that will replenish your bloodstream, and by eating the vegetables you will systematically give yourself a blood transfusion, because the life of the flesh is where? In the blood. And by eating the vegetables you're going to be transfusing yourself with what? New life. And Adam, if you have good blood, you're going to have a good healthy life. And the more vegetables you eat, and you should eat more vegetables than you eat fruit and grains and nuts, because we're more sick. The sicker you are, the more vegetables you should eat. Is that practical sense? It is, because the leaves of the tree is for the healing of the nation. Why did God give him the leaves of the tree? Because of the elements in the leaves, the green substance called chlorophyll, that is identical to the human blood in composition. By taking that chlorophyll in every day, Adam was transfusing himself. In Isaiah the 66th chapter, verse 15. For behold, the Lord will come with fire, and with his chariots like a whirlwind, and rain his angels with fury, and his rebuke with a flame of fire. For by fire and by his sword will the Lord plead with all flesh, and the slain of the Lord shall be many. And they that sanctify themselves and purify themselves in the garden behind one tree, in the midst eating swine flesh, an abomination, and the mouse shall be consumed together, says the Lord. This is a prophecy. This is a prophecy about the end time. That when God comes to purify the earth, if you eat in the swine and the rat, you will be consumed. God did not sanction for us to eat no swine. All right, he didn't. Even God made it plain with Noah when he brought the animals on the ark. God made it plain that they was not. Even there, when he permitted them to eat meat, he told them to eat clean meat and not that swine. Now anything unclean. In Leviticus the 17th chapter, verse 14 states, therefore I said to the children of Israel, you shall not eat the blood of any flesh, for the life of the flesh is its blood. Whosoever eat it shall be cut off. That cut off means die. And so God said, now look, I'm going to have to give you some clean meat to eat, because all the vegetation is destroyed in the flood. Now God could have just presto performed a miracle and brought forth all the vegetation. But God don't operate like that. That's what Satan tried to get God to do, to change them stones to bread. Sometimes God had to let things go its natural course so we can see the horror of what sin would do. And so God said, now look, I'm going to let you eat some clean flesh. He said, but you can't eat the flesh, you can't eat the blood, and you can't eat the fat. And some of us can still eat it today. I'm not here to tell you you cannot or should not eat flesh. You can. You can eat flesh this very day. You can go out and get you some chicken, beef, any kind of clean meat. You can do that. But I will tell you what the Word of God said. You are not to eat the blood, nor the fat. All right? Now that's what God said. I didn't say that. God said that. And God said, only you shall not eat the blood. You shall pour it out on the earth like water. Deuteronomy 12th chapter verse 16. God said that. Now if I had said it, I would say, you know, it's all right. Blood is all right. But God said, don't eat it. Now God well knew that if you ate the chicken with no blood in it, it would have no flavor. It would taste like raw rubber. It's the blood that gives the flavor to the meat. And soon you will lose your desire for it. You will. But, now the heathens, they ate the meat with the blood. They drank the blood. To this day, many of them still drink the blood. And so, but God's people were never to drink the blood because the life was in the blood. Deuteronomy, the 8th chapter, it says, because, and talking of the swine, God told us that we shouldn't even touch, not eat him. And I can tell you something, I'm from the South. I love me some ham. I used to get me some red-eye gravy and some white fluffy biscuits that look like they want to take flight and some nice butter. And I'm going to tell you something, I had me a meal that is delicious to this day. And I miss that ham. I walk in the store and I smell that ham and that fried chicken. And I'm telling you what, I have to fight with everything I got to resist the temptation. But every time I think about yielding to my flesh, I rebuke it and said, not today. It's the mind that's going to preside over this flesh. And that flesh is not going to allow me to follow after the inclinations of my desires. I submit to the mind. Now, I'm going to cross-section here, and y'all going to be really surprised. Now, I talked about medias, and I'm going to talk about you vegetarians. I got something for you too. Do you know that Jiffy cornbread mix has lard in it? Ain't that something? And the King Hawaiian bread, it has lard in it too. Do you know that Pittsburgh, all their products has lard, pork, and beef in it? Now this is all us talking about. Well, you know, yeah, we don't eat no pork. You better watch yourself here today. You may not think you eat no pork, but you might be still yanking on the hog and thinking you're a vegetarian. Sara Lee, now I know I like some of this croissant. Boy, it's just delicious. And I've been eating it, didn't know it had swine in it. Tell you. Didn't know it because they don't put it on the label. They don't have to advertise it. But you check the company, they have to tell you. It's got swine in it. So if you've been eating some, then you know you need to go do a nice little detox. Do you know that Rice Krispies, how many like Rice Krispies? It's got swine in it. All right? And what about your cinnamon rolls? The Bear Claw cinnamon rolls got pork in it. And your Danish, all varieties, have pork in it. Your Sara Lee's classic French cheesecakes, it's got beef in it, at least the beef. Thankful for that. And also your strawberry French cheesecake has beef in it. And I'm talking about the vegetarians thinking that they are vegetarians. See, we eating these things. Now you may be hiding, but I know you eating these things because I eat it. I know I eat these things and I claim to be a vegetarian. I go get me some Sara Lee strawberry French cheesecake, and it's delicious. Didn't know it had beef in it. Your French silk pie has pork in it, and you talking about something delicious. And what about your tropical coconut cream pie? You don't have to raise your hand. It's got pork in it. And also your banana cake. It has pork in it also. And how many chewed gum? I tell you, this thing come home. You know that? Man, when I put this thing together, I said, Lord, what's left? Wrigley chewing gum. They all have pork in it. Every one of them. So you people that think you're a vegetarian, you better go to the cleansing. Kellogg. Now, some of y'all know Kellogg. Dr. Kellogg is the man that was a health man in the Seventh-day Adventist Church. He was a big health man, right? Most of their products got beef and pork in it. All right? You think, well, I can eat me some Kellogg's cornflakes because, you know, he was a Seventh-day Adventist. Better not follow that. I'm telling you, don't be deceived. What about marshmallow Fruit Loops? You buy these for your children because they like those color, nice little different multicolor. It's got pork in it. This smashed Rice Krispies. It's got pork in it. Frosty Mini Spooners. I don't even know what that is, but that's got pork in it. Golden Puff. It's got the unclean fish in it. And so it could have catfish, or it can have clam or lobsters in it. So it's the unclean fish. And Quick Oats. Big, bold, instant oats. Especially apple cinnamon flavor. The one I really like. It's got unclean fish in it. Maple brown sugar flavor. It's got also unclean fish in it. The variety pack. It's got unclean fish in it. Crystal Farm processed cheese. How many still eating cheese? Don't raise your hand. All cheese, all commercial cheese, dairy cheese, got pork in it. So you've been thinking, well, at least we can eat some cheese, and I know some of us like some cheese. Got some pork. Now, some of you understand that we are in the Day of Atonement. Now, we believe this dearly. We believe that we're making preparation for Jesus Christ to come and finish the work as a high priest in the heavenly sanctuary. How many believe that? Amen. Okay, now, I'm going to tell you something. You can't have this pork in you when Christ comes. You got to get that stuff out of you. All the cheese got pork in it, so you don't have to worry about it. Now, I know nobody eating Eddie Rocky Road ice cream, right? It's got pork in it. Now, why would they put pork in ice cream? That enemy, that Satan is a slewfoot. You know that? He really is. I think he's doing it for you. I'm talking about for you people that know better. I really do. Because the rest of the people out there, they don't care. But you people think y'all trying to be slick, you know, trying to hide and say, well, we don't eat no pork. Satan sit back there laughing at us. I'm telling y'all. Now, don't get upset at me tonight. Please, I can't stand it. I'm going to tell y'all the truth. I'm really going to tell y'all the truth tonight. And I don't care if you don't like it. Don't lay hands on me, because I got a big brother, boy, he's standing for me. Okay. Yes, ma'am.
There is soya cheese, and it is delicious.
It is delicious.
Yes.
But I wish to God we'd just eat some of that.
We can buy it in Chicago, but I tried to get it through the stores here, but they haven't got it here. And
Ain't that something? Well, you keep trying. God will teach you how to make it, so you don't have to worry about them, because you don't know what they're putting in that either. Horizon Organic. Now, please watch that word organic. You see that organic, that must be all right. Parmesan John cheese. If it's organic, it can't have no pork in it. They have organic pork. Okay. It's got pork in it. And that's all the cheese got pork. You can just, all of it, every type has pork in it. Now for the little babies. The Similac, it got on there lactose free. And immediately when you see lactose free, you say, wow, it don't have no milk in it. You say, that's got to be all right. It's made out of soy. And you say, a soy product have no dairy product in it. It's okay. It's got pork in it. Neutrogena hypoallergenic formula. How many know what that is? It's got pork in it. That's for baby formula, for baby milk, you know. Then on Thanksgiving or some special occasion, you go get you a butterball turkey. He said, well, he says turkey. That enemy, he turned around and put pork additives in it. He'll mess with himself, I'm telling y'all. I understand what God said. You need to own a little piece of land and grow your food. And those that have a little piece of land are going to live like kings and queens. I got my little piece of land up in the country. I thank God for it. And I'm out of debt. And I tell you what, I'm working my way off the grid. And I ain't trying to save myself, but I'm sure trying to get past this small time of trouble. The Long John Silver, I know don't nobody can eat no Long John Silver, but just in case you know somebody do, the cheese they put on it got pork in it. And if you like noodles, it's got pork in it. Anybody like pizzas? I love pizzas. Well, Tony Pizza, all variety, has pork in it. What about Camel Soup? Camel Soup have beef and pork in it. Price to buy this product. My wife was always telling me, go and get some tomato sauce and Prego. Go get the Prego, you know, and I read it, and it's got all the nice vegetables, you know. I said, hey, ain't no meat in this. Found out it's got pork in it. They hid it from me. So if you're using it, stop using it. What about Lipton tea? Now you know Lipton tea has no business having no pork in it. It's got it in it. Burger King. Burger Kings use shortening that they get from the swine, from lard. And they put it in their bread and hamburger buns. Nabisco, all of Nabisco products has lard in it. Your Ritz crackers, what about wheat thins? All of them. Premium crackers got lard in it. Honey graham crackers got lard in it. Boy, there ain't many vegetarians left, is it? It's not. I'm telling you, because I'm talking about myself too, included. Because you get in a strait, you go out and buy you some Ritz crackers, or you buy some, especially some wheat thins, that's whole wheat. I found out you got some swine, didn't even know it. Baskin Robbins ice cream. It's good. For those that, you know, going to eat dairy and beef, so it don't have no pork in it. Beech nuts chewing gum, I said, I mean, had put that, all the chewing gum got lard in it. Now, so let me go to the next level. Among those who are waiting for the coming of the Lord, meat eating will eventually be done away with. Flesh will cease to form a part of their diet. We should ever keep this view in mind, endeavor to work steadily toward it. Why is this important that we kind of work our way off a flesh-eating diet? Think about it. I'm going to give you a little story. It was this man, he works real hard, you know, and he's working on a factory, and the whistle blows for him to go to lunch. And he looked across this big highway, and he see a little chicken shack. And he maneuvers his way across ever so carefully, and he buy him a box of chicken. Then he looked back on the other side, and he see a little park where he can sit down and eat his lunch. And so he maneuvered his way across. He got hit by a big truck. He get killed. He's dead. In the resurrection, what is the first thing come out of his mouth? Whatever you go down with, that's what you're coming up with. Do y'all understand that? There ain't no instantaneous perfection at the blink of death. That don't happen. If you die thinking about drinking a jug of whiskey, when you come up, that last thought on drinking a jug of whiskey. That's why you should have your mind fixed on Christ and on holy things. So that man come up, he said, where in the world is my box of chicken? And I'm saying it nice. Now he's getting ready to be transported to heavenly places, walking down them golden streets. There ain't no chicken shacks up there. What are you going to do? He'd be the most miserable person in the world, walking up and down those roads in the kingdom. I don't see no KFC up here. You think he want to stay up there? Ain't going to be no killing in God's kingdom. And so the mind that we have now is the mind that should be preparing to be translated into heaven. And that's why it's important to say, let this mind be in you that was in Jesus Christ. Christ always kept his mind on his Father. So again, God gave us a beautiful diet with plenty of variety. All different types of flavors. We never could get too used of this wonderful food. But then after the fall, man craved dead food. God gave him live food, he craved dead food. And what came with dead food is disease and sickness. And Deuteronomy the 12th chapter verse 15, God said, notwithstanding thou mayest kill and eat flesh in all thy gates, and whatsoever thou so lustest after, according to the blessings of the Lord thy God, which he has given thee, the unclean and the clean may eat thereof, as of the roebuck and of the hart. What did God just give us permission to do? He gave us permission that we can eat the unclean and we can eat the clean. Did I read that right? Now some people shaking their heads saying, no. Hey, I testify, I'm not a good reader. So I'm going to read it a little slower this time. Notwithstanding. When God said notwithstanding, I mean he told you something else before that. He said, notwithstanding thou mayest kill and eat flesh in all thy gates. That's being in your house. Whatsoever thou so lustest after. He said, whatever you want, you can eat it. Did I read that right? I'm afraid I did. And it's according to the blessings of the Lord thy God, which he has given thee. He says, God has blessed you with money and substance. You can eat anything you want. He said, you can eat the unclean. What's that? That's the swine, the catfish, and many other like creatures. He said, you can eat the unclean. And you can eat the clean, the chicken and the beef if you want to. The clean may eat thereof. So God is telling us you can eat whatever you want. And the reason God is saying that, he said, I ain't got control over your mind. He said, notwithstanding I told you that fruits, grains, nuts, and vegetables was the best for you, but if you want to lust after whatever you want, you got permission to do it. God will not control your mind. I like a God to give me freedom. God is not with a whip saying you better do anything. You can choose to serve the Lord or choose not to serve him. Now, listen to this. How many people eat white sugar? If you are eating white sugar, you also are consuming animal bones. Did you know that? I'm telling you. They take the bones of animals and they bleach it. They turn it into charcoal to bleach the sugar white. All right? Now y'all check me out. Y'all go. See, I wouldn't get up here if I didn't have my data. Because there's enough people out there upset at me with make me look silly. You look up how they turn sugar white. Charred animal bones. And you still eating them charred bones, thinking I ain't eating no meat. You eating sugar. How many people like vanilla ice cream? If you're eating vanilla ice cream, you are consuming beetle butt juice. These people are mad. I'm telling you, these scientists, they are mad. They're going crazy. You see, what we perceive as filth is an opportunity to be creative. And they come up with all this crazy stuff. And they said, the natural flavor you see listed on your favorite vanilla ice cream may actually come from beetle rear ends. What the beetles do, they squirt this substance to mark their territory. And it gives a vanilla type smell to the other creatures. And so these very smart people say, well, hey, we can take that and put that in some milk and make it taste like vanilla ice cream. And then we smell, that's vanilla ice cream. Didn't know it came from the back end of a beetle. Ain't that something? I mean, like orange juice. I know I love orange juice. My son won't even touch no orange juice unless you squeeze it fresh now. He won't deal with it. He said, if you ain't got the orange, he didn't give him the orange juice. If you drinking orange juice, you may also be consuming fish oil and sheep wool. Because that's what they put in there to fortify. When they said it's fortified, they simply means that they have put some fish oil and sheep wool in the orange juice. All of it, the vitamin D, all of them, that's the vitamin D from the sheep wool. And your Tropicana, your Pepsi-Cola, your Coca-Cola, be very careful when you're eating. If you like refried beans, then most of it has beef in it, but some of your Mexican refried beans has pork in it. Bananas. Now please don't mess with bananas. You know, that's the first thing. Don't mess with bananas. Let me tell you about bananas. If you're eating bananas, you also are consuming shellfish. What is a shellfish? That's an unclean animal. Right? And for those that know better, we have no business eating no shellfish. Talking about we're getting ready to go into the kingdom. He's an abomination. And they mix this shellfish substance on the banana as a preservative to keep it, to preserve the shelf life. I'm telling you, it's these smart people. And we eat the banana, we're taking in a little bit of the shellfish. We are going to be forced to eat organic one day. It's going to happen. That you're going to get really sick. And I think this is why we're so sick. Even us vegetarians are sick. It ain't just meat eaters. You say, well, no, yeah, I'm healthy. Blood pressure about to blow a stack, arthritis, diabetes, cancer, everything. Those diseases in all denominations, not excluding the Seventh-day Adventist Church. All got it. I work with Seventh-day Adventists every day. They're just as sick as everybody else. Why? They think they're vegetarians and eating bugs, they're eating the swine, they're eating the beef, and thinking they're following a good diet. This is tough, but it's the truth. Do you like bagels? I do. I'm confessing. See, I'm telling you, I've kind of got a little David in me, you know what I mean? I'm running to God and say, yes, God, that's me. I'm sorry. I want to get it off of me. He said, go and sin no more. At least the worst thing come upon you. That's what God told me. I said, God, I've been eating bagels, I've been eating bananas, got bugs in it. I've been eating all the shellfish, eating catfish, swine. And I've been going around here teaching and telling people they need to eat right. And I've been eating all this stuff, God. And he said, okay, son, that's all right. He said, I'll cover that with my blood. He said, go and sin no more. At least the worst thing come upon you. And that's what God is telling you. They take bird feathers. You know how fluffy bird feathers are? They grind it up to a nice little powder and they mix it with flour to make dough nice and fluffy. Bird feathers. Now it takes a mad scientist to figure this stuff out. That's who coming up with our food. Your Dunkin' Donuts, they have it. If you eat Dunkin' Donuts, your Pizza Huts, in their crust, they have it in there. And your McDonald's, honey wheat rolls have it, and cinnamon rolls, and apple pies have it. You say, well, I'm going to go to McDonald's. I don't eat no meat, but I'm going to get me an apple pie and a cinnamon roll. You're actually eating bird feathers and don't know it. Candy. Especially the red candy. They take the beetle bug shell and they crush them and they make that into hard candy. They convert it into hard candy. And that's when you buy hard candy, it's got that little shine on it, little nice little shine, hard, you know. It's made from beetle bugs. And there it is right there. That's the hard candy made from the shells of the beetle bugs. Peanuts. I don't think it's, and I didn't put everything here. Peanuts. Now, I know we like peanuts, right? And what could they do with peanuts? Do you know they take the pig hoofs and coat the peanuts, shelled peanuts with pig hooks? And you don't even know you're eating peanuts, and you don't know you're eating a little swine. And y'all bear me witness. Y'all go back and check and see that I make this stuff up. It's there. And because of that, it's the results of these types of disease and sickness. This is why we're sick. This is what's bringing about these diseases in the body. And these things should not be. God had laid it out for us that we would escape these things so that we would be a witness and a testimony to the world, so when the world would see us, they would marvel and say, what a people. They are free from disease and sickness. But now we are as sick as the world. We have no testimony but a disgrace before God. And he said, if thou wilt diligently hearken to the voice of the Lord thy God, and will do that which is right in his sight, and will give ear to his commandments, and keep all of his statutes, I will put none of these diseases upon thee, which I have brought upon the Egyptian, for I am the Lord that healeth thee. Thank God for that. So he's telling us, if we keep his commandments and his statutes, he said, I'm not going to let these things happen to you. But that includes the natural laws too. If you violate the natural laws, you violate his commandments and his laws. Deuteronomy the 12th chapter, 20-21. When the Lord God shall enlarge thy border as he has promised thee, and thou shalt say, I will eat flesh, because thy soul longest to eat flesh. Thou mayest eat flesh, and whatsoever thy soul lusteth after. And so God said, you can go ahead and eat. If you say you want to eat whatever it is, you can eat the clean, you can eat the unclean, whatever your heart lusts after. First John 5:15-7. Love not the world, neither the things that are in the world. If any man love the world, the love of the Father is not in him. For all that is in the world, the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, and the pride of life is not of the Father, but it's of the world. And the world passes away, and the lust thereof, but he that doeth the will of God abides forever. God will sustain and uphold us. Even if we have fallen on our face, God will lift us up. He lifts us up so that we will stand upright. But God expects us to continue to be upright and stop trying to sneak around and eat things and think he can't see what's going on. Please don't do him like that. God has his eyes on us every day. He knows. And he would like to help us overcome our weakness. Now, listen to this man right here. This man is over the meat industry here in North America.
We're doing a good job.
Dr. Russell Cross is the man in charge of all meat safety and inspection for the U.S. government. We showed him our videotape taken inside the plants.
This is one of the carcasses going through, and that's feces that's being washed off. Another carcass comes along, as you can see, and this is what your inspectors call cross-contamination, isn't it? Mm-hmm. We found fecal matter in 3 of our samples. You're telling me the meat is safe? Would you feed it to your family?
No, I won't sit here and tell you that fecal matter in meat is safe, no.
How much fecal matter is allowable on our meat?
I'm not really sure. We have
how much hair?
Don't have the answer to that.
How much fragments of teeth?
I don't know. I'd have to ask my experts.
Now let me ask you something. Now this man is head of the meat industry in this whole United States. So all the chicken, all the beef, everything you eat, he's the man. And they asked him, they said, how much fecal matter is permitted to be in your food? He said, I don't know. Now, man, how much fecal matter is permitted to be in your hamburger, your chicken, or your food? Do you know? Well, you know you don't want none in there, right? So it's obvious that a certain amount is permissible to be in it. they know there's a certain amount of feces in it and contamination in the food.
We then showed Dr. Cross the most obvious example of contamination, the shotgun pellets.
How can you let this go past the inspectors?
That shouldn't have gone past an inspector, and I would have assumed that our inspector would have found it.
Here's something.
If you depend on those inspectors, you're going to end up with these kind of conditions. And some people, they say, well, okay, I don't eat meat, and yet I come down with problems. But I'm going to tell you something. A lot of your vegetarian meats are just as dangerous or more dangerous than animal meat. I know you don't believe it, but vegetarian meats can be very dangerous. Let me give you a chemical analysis. Chicken is protein, fat, seasoned with a little flour on it. That's chicken. Veggie meat is protein, fat, a little season, and a little flour on it. The same organ that break down the chicken in the gastric tract, the same mechanism of digestion must also act on the veggie meat. Chemically, the body don't know any difference between veggie meat and animal meat. The same taxation is put on the body. And the end result is the same condition. You can develop cancer eating a lot of veggie meat. You can develop cancer eating a lot of animal meat. God did not design us to eat a lot of veggie meat or animal meat. Our diet should have been principally complex carbohydrates, fruits, grains, nuts, and vegetables, and then a small amount of protein and fats. But we don't do that. When we fix a plate, we got a big plate of the denatured, devitamized, demineralized foods. And then when it comes to the complex carbohydrates, we get a little bowl, a little salad. That won't get it. Animals from which milk is obtained are not always healthy. They may be diseased. A cow may be apparently well in the morning and die before night. Then she was diseased in the morning and her milk was diseased. But you did not know it. The animal creation is diseased. Council on Diets and Food, page 356, for those that have that book. Now take a listen. These are the federal food inspectors right here. Their voice has been disguised so they won't lose their job.
Eat meat inspected under the new government program.
We don't want people to eat what we would eat.
You wouldn't eat the product that you're producing?
No, I would not.
Yourself?
No. No, sir.
Now let me ask you something. These men are over the food industry in this country. They became vegetarians because they wouldn't even eat their own product. But they stamped grade A inspected for us to eat. And when we see that grade A inspection, say that must be all right. And the inspectors refuse to eat it. Cancer in animals sold for food. Now you look at this animal, this cow right here, and this poor little animal right here. The torture that they go through, the brutality, the suffering they go through. They show no affection for these animals. These animals go through a lot of abuse. And why do they do that? Why do they hurt these animals like that and butcher them the way they're doing it? To try to meet the needs of people's desires to eat flesh. God's going to avenge the suffering of these animals one day. God did not create these animals to go through this. If he did, they would be doing it in heaven. And you may say, well, I didn't have anything to do with that. You know, I didn't have nothing to do with that animal suffering. If we did not buy it, these animals would not go through this torture. They wouldn't do it. Are animal food safe? Look at this cow. This is called a down cow. He's sick. He's dying. The owner must get him to the market before he died. And so he won't lose the profit. He is not concerned about what happened after he sells this cow. And you eat this down animal and you take in his disease into your life, your body. And what's manifests itself out is disease, cancer, tuberculosis, and many other horrible diseases. It's the end results of eating these foods that are not healthy and that we should not take into our body. These things should not happen. But it's happening to believers all over the world because they are not even aware, they're not even conscious that they're literally eating themselves to death on a full stomach. People are not concerned about the end results of eating. They are so caught up with the flavor and enjoyment of the moment of pleasurizing themselves on food that should not go into the body. I worked with this lady right here. Beautiful sister. And the pain and the agony she went through. She lived like most of us. She was a vegetarian. I could do a program right here, and I do it sometime. And every person, and I can go through 50, 60, 100 people, and every one of them was a vegetarian. And every one of them got big tumors coming out their body and everywhere. And look, all of us should be vegans and vegetarians. But from what you're seeing here tonight, we got to do more than just being a vegetarian. We got to do our homework and search out because they're messing up the plant-based food too. And until we can work steadily toward getting ourselves in a position where we can learn to grow our food, or at least get food that is healthy, we are playing a Russian roulette game when it comes to eating. We do not mark out any precise line to be followed in diet, but we do say that in countries where there are fruits, grains, nuts, and abundance, flesh food is not the right food for God's people. It's not the right for God's people. Now, it's all right for the world. They can eat the unclean food. They can eat the abomination. But God's people should know better. They have been instructed that flesh food has a tendency to animalize the nature, rob men and women of their love and sympathy, which they should feel for one another. When you eat these foods, you take on the animal propensities. You start acting like an animal. I believe that's why Satan is doing it, because he wants us to be more beast-like than we are Christ-like. So when Christ comes back, he sees more beast in us than he sees Christ in us, and maybe he's hoping that Christ will give up and get frustrated and say it's hopeless, and just leave this world to the hands of Satan. But I believe God's going to have a people that will overcome their appetite and will do those things that's right before God. Yes. Let's see. Child guidance. Those who eat flesh are but eating grains and vegetables at second hand. Now I want you to remember that. Those who eat flesh are eating grains and vegetables at second hand. For the animal received from these things the nutrition that produce the growth. The animals, they get the benefit. The cow grow up being big and strong. He don't have all that cancer and all that arthritis and all that diabetes. He don't have it because he's eating what? He's eating the vegetables and the grains. And now we turn around and eat the cow or eat the hog, and we get a second hand. Maybe we need to start living like animals, because they seem to be don't having the kind of problems we have. The effects of a flesh diet may not be immediately realized, but this is no evidence that it's not harmful. Yeah, well, it don't bother me. You know, I'm 80 years old and I ain't never had no problems. You know, and people see that and it's, well, man, that's 90 years old and he chew tobacco, drink alcohol, eat everything, and he's doing fine. You better not try to do what that man's doing. You better not. See, God measure out His grace. And sometimes God will give this man a little more, and that man some, and that man some. And you don't know what you got. You better just stand on God's word. That man might can do all that stuff, but you might not can't do it. I put this in there because I worked with a man, and this man had this horrible disease. He had sores from the top of his head to his feet, and he had scabs all over himself, and he was miserable, and he was sat at the table and scratching, scales just flying all over the place. Didn't nobody want to sit next to him because he's spraying all his little scabs everywhere, you know, and he itching bad. And I worked with this man. I told him, I said, look, I put him in a bathtub, and I want you to try it. If you have got bad skin, psoriasis, any type of skin problem, take you 2 cups of honey, 1 cup of olive oil, mix it together and put it in your bath water. And set in there and rub it all over you. You're going to be amazed when you come out of there. Your skin going to be silky, soft, and no dry skin. It is just fantastic. And you paying all that money for all them moisturizers and stuff. You'll be amazed to see what it's going to do to your skin. I took him, I did that 3 days in a row, cleared up his skin problem. He get ready to go home. He said, Brother Wilson, he said, I can't wait to get home. Because when I get home, I'm going to get me some chicken feet. I said, what? He said, chicken feet. I said, chicken feet? I ain't never heard nobody eating chicken feet, you know what I mean? And I said, chicken feet? I said, ain't no meat on no chicken feet. He said, oh yeah, he's from the islands, you know, and he said, we love chicken feet. So I went on the internet to find me some chicken feet. And I went and pulled that up, and that's the chicken feet. And I said, boy, I was amazed that people eat chicken feet. And out of all things, a nasty chicken feet. But he loved it. And I thought about all the efforts we made, he just wiped it out. He went right back, eating his chicken feet, called me a few weeks later, he done broke out again. Take a look at this. How would you like to have this job?
Nope.
All day long. Every day of the week, you cut the neck of a chicken. I mean, that has got to do something to your mental psyche. These animals can't speak for themselves, but you know, it's a tragic that we bring so much suffering on them just to satisfy our perverted appetite. Take a listen to this.
Turkey. Here's a word of warning for the cook. The experts say you have to assume that the turkey you buy is tainted with bacteria.
Did you get that? The turkey you buy, you have to assume it got bacteria in it. Now they're telling you this, but we're not hearing that. All we hear is, I can't wait to get home and get me some nice turkey. These people telling you it's got bacteria in it. Now listen to what she said.
But you can make the bird safe to eat.
Is that possible? Not for me, it ain't. If it's got bacteria in it, it cannot be made safe to eat for me. Now, I don't know, maybe you all can buy some bird that's got a lot of bacteria in it so I can go home and fix it. You sure can't fix it for me.
As correspondent Frank Courier shows you in tonight's Eye on America.
Good afternoon, Butterball Hotline.
Hotline wants to know how much you
recommend that you refrigerate when in doubt, then they may need to throw it out.
Out of 2,000 calls daily to the Butterball Company's toll-free talk line, 1 of every 3 consumers wants facts on how to prevent food poisoning.
It's as safe when you take it out of the...
It could be dangerous if you leave it out.
And you don't want those raw juices to get
It really keeps the turkey in the danger zone.
As Americans...
And they tell you, make sure that when you handle a turkey and that you put him on your counter, cut him up, make sure you don't put any other food on there because it could contaminate the other food. What about your stomach? It's going in your stomach. Now if it's going to contaminate other food, what about you? They say, well, if you handle it, make sure you wash your hands. Didn't say anything about your stomach, where it's going. Now listen to these people here. This is the typical American way.
This year, Americans will eat 7 billion chickens. About
7 billion chickens. Can you believe that? You can't even count that up.
70 pounds per person. And why not?
70 pounds of chicken per person. Now you tell me that won't bring about some complications. You can't eat 70 pounds of nothing without it causing problems. God said eat everything in moderation.
I like chicken. It's cheap.
You hear what she said? I like it. If you notice when people, they said, well, why do you eat chicken? I like it. They didn't talk to God about that. I like it. I think chicken is healthy. Well, who asked you what you think? You should be checking God. God, is chicken healthy for me to eat? You see what I mean? If you're consulting with yourself, you are the authority of your own life. You're not talking to God. So, well, hey, I perceive chicken is just fine. And God ain't got nothing to do with it. If you talk with God, God will say, yeah, chicken can be fine, but you got to get rid of the fat in the blood. You see what I'm talking about? You didn't talk to God about that. You just said, hey, it's good for me.
Than most meat, with only 1/3 the saturated fat of lean beef.
Stop.
Well, it's healthy, easier to eat. You can fix
Now she says healthy. That's what it is. That's a Greek, you know. The Greek got all the wisdom, you know. They say, yes, well, why do you eat is healthy? According to whose standard and law? Appetite.
It's the quality of life that's really at stake. The undesirable effects of the American diet are most apparent in the last 10 or 20 years of life, when heart disease and cancer can make life really miserable. And the effects of poor eating habits can be measured not just in terms of human suffering, but look at the astronomical healthcare costs in this country. We spend almost $9 billion each year on coronary bypass surgery alone.
A quadruple coronary bypass operation is not a pleasant thing to go through for the people who survive those operations. Those are tremendous costs, billions and billions of dollars that could be saved simply by cutting back drastically on the amount of fat, the amount of cholesterol, the amount of salt.
Many scientists...
Now, this doctor is telling us this, and because we didn't hear God, God told us the same thing, and you won't listen to him. So maybe you will listen to this doctor telling you, you need to cut back on the fat and the salt and the protein. You need to do it. But if you won't listen to him, then eventually your body will tell you the consequence. I worked with this young man right here. He has brain cancer in the last stages. And he, I don't know if that'll play, but anyway, he came to my facility and he had a lot of parasites. And I had to get all the worms and parasite out of him. That won't play. Let's see what this one play right here. Now these are worms in this woman's breast. and pulling these worms out. They're maggots, and they are alive. They have set up an apartment complex in this woman's breast. Every time you sit and eat, and if a fly over your plate, he's bombing your food. A fly is the smartest and the most laziest creature it is. He's so smart that he done figured out how to get you to raise his little children while he can go and produce some more. So he dropped the little eggs in your plate that you don't see, and then you eat it up, it goes in your body, and there you become a surrogate mother to a fly. And then he go on, fly away, and he can do his own thing again. You tell me that's smart, that's intelligent. They don't have to worry about raising them. They're growing inside of you. And most of us have these worms and don't even know it. I worked with this man right here. And he had cancer, oral cancer of the mouth. And I took this tumor out of his face. Now the tumor is out right now, but it's still swollen. And right there in that cavity in the middle is where the tumor came out. This man was a vegetarian, and he ate fairly healthy, but he ate like most of us. You know, he didn't research, and he just ate, and you know, and he got tricked like most of us are getting tricked. The devil had a trick for him as he has a trick for us. And he came down with oral cancer of the mouth. And I went down to Mobile, Alabama, and I assist in taking this tumor out of his face. He had enough faith and confidence in me to do it. Now I'm looking in his mouth to see, I think I have another one in here. I looked in his mouth so I can see that the tumor come all the way through his mouth, his jaw. So I looked the flashlight looking in, I just want to see that the tumor grew all the way through, and it did. So I was able to pull this tumor out of his face, and I'm going to show you, I'm going to let it play long enough. I want you to see the tumor I took out of his face. And then I'm going to let you see what he looked like when the swelling went down and how he looked at the end results. That's the tumor. It fell out that night. I was staying in a hotel. It fell out that night, and they saved it for me the next day. And when I got there the next morning, I took it out. That's the tumor that came out of his face right there. It looked like a stone. It really did. It was hard and looked like a stone. And he was very happy. They was going to take out half his face, part of his brain, and one of his eyes. And he said, I'd rather be dead than let that happen. So it turned out real good. That's him right there. All he had is a little scar left after the swelling went down. And they was going to mutilate his body. This man right here in Washington State had this big tumor grown on the side of his face. And all we did, we just followed the doctor's prescription in Isaiah the 38th chapter, verse 21. We took a cluster of figs, made it into a plaster, put a little blood root on it, laid it on the tumor, and it ate that tumor off the side of his face. It worked for Hezekiah. It will work also for you. This lady right here, I worked with her over 30 years ago. She had a tumor in her mouth. She can open her mouth so you can look at it. She had a big tumor in the upper part of the palate of her mouth. These people are no different than we are. They came down with these horrible sickness. They followed pretty much the same lifestyle all of us are following. They're Christian, good Christian people. And the Lord blessed me to take this tumor out the upper part palate of her mouth. You see this little round spot on the side of her face? I put an herbal salve on her face that went through her jaw and burst the tumor that was in her mouth and removed it. And she'll turn, and this time you'll get a better view of the tumor in the upper part of the palate of her mouth. This tumor migrated up into a sinus area, and She got to the point where it was hard for her to breathe and everything. It's another one right here. This person had a tumor growing out the side of her breast, and we took out about a lemon-sized tumor out the side of her breast. But all of this is a product of disobedience. I mean, God said that if you keep my commandments and my statutes, I won't let this happen. They may have been keeping the commandments to the best of their ability, but it was violating the natural laws that govern health practice. They didn't know. They didn't know. But because you don't know, the curse causeless shall not come. I mean, it's just a simple fact. You say, well, God, I didn't know. But is that going to stop the consequences? No. You can say drinking a fifth of whiskey every day of your life won't give you cirrhosis of the liver because I didn't know. Don't work like that. It's another case. All these people you're looking at was pretty good health eating people, but it happened to them. I put this in there for the children. This is, in the time you eat now, let's face it, we still eating some chocolate too. This here is a rat. And the rat, one thing about him, he gets so caught up in the eating that he will not take time to go out somewhere and ease himself. He just eases himself right where he's eating. And so when he get up into the chocolate bin or the chocolate, where they keep chocolate at a warehouse, he's eating the chocolate and he's excreting. And when they get ready to convert the chocolate into candy, they can't get all the feces out. So what the FDA decided that we will permit at least 10 milligrams per pound of feces in the chocolate. We will permit 120 insect fragments per cup. We will permit 2 rodent hairs per cup because they can't get it out. And because you like chocolate, so who cares? By the use of flesh meat, the animal nature is strengthened. And I believe that so much. If man's natural senses had not been perverted by the indulgent appetite, human beings will not think of eating flesh of animals. You know, I go into, but you ever been into a fish market? Just where they sell fish. How in the world can somebody eat fish? You see how bad it's stinking now? I go by there, man, and boy, I said, ooh, ain't no way I could eat that. At least I can eat some out of Kentucky Fried Chicken, some where they done cooked it, but that meat, when it's raw, it's got a horrible smell to it. But they said, we can make it better. And they do. Now I'm stepping on. I mean, man has tried a bunch of things. He tried bugs, and he tried swine, and he tried everything. And one thing about man, he ain't never satisfied. He can eat all the chicken, all the beef, all the horse he wants. And he says, got to be something else to eat. I'm tired of eating the same thing every day. Do y'all ever get like that? It got to be something else. That's why they got all these variety of restaurants, because people get tired of eating the same thing every day. So eventually they said, well, look, is there anything else to eat? And see, yeah, there's some creepy crawly things. There's some bugs and worms. And I travel a lot. I travel overseas a lot, and boy, I went to a restaurant and they gave me a plate of stir-fried worms. And I looked at it and I said, no, I can't go there. No way. But you don't know what it is. It smells delicious. And I was sitting there, I was in Malaysia. I was sitting in Malaysia, in the capital of Malaysia, and this restaurant. And they were serving these worms, and they were just crunching on them worms and eating it like French fries. And I just couldn't go there. I said, no, wait. But they was laughing at me, telling me it was delicious, and it was healthy, and it had good protein in it. And all I could think about, and they gathered every man according to his eating, and Moses said, let no man leave it until the morning. Notwithstanding, they hearkened not unto Moses, but some of them left it until the morning, and it breathed worms and stanked. I said, that's enough for me. I ain't going there. And here's a stir-fry plate of worms. Like I said, man ain't never satisfied. He's always searching for something different. And there, crunching down spiders, bugs, chocolate-coated bugs. And they laugh at you. It's good. They think you're crazy. They really do. And, you know, to them, they eat it in front of you. And they say, I don't understand y'all American people. You mean you don't eat some bugs? I said, no way. Don't eat no bugs. That is a plate of maggots. I mean, literally, people eat crispy, fried maggots. They do. And they claim it's delicious. Now you saying, well, I would never eat that. You've been eating it and didn't know it. That's what I'm talking about. I just talked about you've been eating bananas and oranges and apples and all that stuff, and you've been eating and they didn't know it. Those people eating it, they don't know either. Now listen to this one. Eating bull testicles. No, that's made. Now who want to eat bull testicles? This is somebody that wants to be Mr. G-Man. It's over with. It's finished. But he's hoping he can reclaim it. So he think by eating the bull testicles he can do it. Because they tell him it will. I tell you. Oh, Lord, help us. Now, I'm going to take you to the 4 Asian countries. But I want you to I want to say something here. Not all Asian people eat dogs and cats. All right? Not all black people in the South eat chitlins. Okay? You know what chitlins are? We call them boo-boo shoots. Boo-boo shoots. That's the intestines of a hog. Not all people in the South eat chitlins. But a lot of them do. And they love it. I have eaten some chitlins. I really have. When I was young, it stinks bad. I mean, how many know what chitlins are? A few people know, okay? A few people. You people, y'all way up here over here in this cold country, y'all don't know nothing about no chitlin eating. That's when you take a hog and you take that intestine and get all the boo-boo out of the gut. You clean all the boo-boo out and you cook it and you put hot sauce in it. And boy, I mean, if you can get past the stink, you really got something there. I'm telling you. Now, these are dogs. And these dogs are caged up for a purpose. Their perspective on what is good to eat and what not good to eat is not the same as ours. And these dogs here are being led in the butcher shop to be butchered like any other creature, like any chicken or duck. That is a whole rack of butchered dogs. That's a table of dog skins. When I was young, we used to eat pork skins. Y'all ain't never had no pork skins, right? But I used to love pork skin. I had to put some hot sauce on some pork skin, and man, I crunched down on that, and I had some good eating. I ate that. I never thought about how nasty and filthy a hog is. It never came to my mind. To me, it was just good eating. Well, over there, they eat dog skin. To them, they have the same DNA. To them, it's just good eating. And so I understand. That's a table of butchered dogs. Here are the dogs that sit out in the marketplace, and the people want to come by, and they look at the dogs, and they leave the head and the tail and a foot on it, so you'll know it's a dog or a cat or a rat. And so you examine them to make sure you got a bargain. That's a whole slab of dog. And you take that whole slab of dog home just like you take anything else home. And you dress it up and cook it, and it's delicious eating. But it's the way you've been raised and brought up. And yet, God, and they don't know any better. And the reason they don't know any better because I think dog meat is good. I think it's good. It tastes good to me. It's all right. They had no source to consult to say dog meat ain't good to eat. All right? A rat. Now, a rat ain't good for nothing, right? He ain't. But to some people, it's a delicacy. To me, it makes my flesh crawl. To other people, it makes their mouth water. We are so different. That is a juicy rat. He's been getting prepared. Now, you couldn't make me touch this rat. But to them, it's nothing. It's like picking up a piece of chicken. And that's a whole rack of dead rats, been cleaned up and ready. That's a basket of rats. And they big juicy rats too. And they wash them up clean. That's a stir tray full of filleted rats. And they got it wrapped real nice there. And you go and you buy you this little styrofoam tray of filleted rats. I already took the bones out, so you don't have to worry about it. And now they're going to make a stir-fry rat dish. And they can't wait. But see, what's happening, what we don't understand, something is happening to the mind of man. Satan is taking man down to the lowest level of degradation. Satan is trying to bring man to the point that he's more beast than man, Christ-like. He has no inclinations, emotion that this is wrong. He's like a dog. A dog can't distinguish what's filthy and what's clean. All he knows, eat and be satisfied. That's barbecue rat. I stopped in the same restaurant in Malaysia, and they gave me a menu. And in the menu, it said, cat fried rice, cat foo young, egg drop cat, eggplant kitty, cat wings, pepper cat, lemon cats. And I told them, I'm a vegetarian. They said, that's all right. We got tofu cat for you. Ain't that something? And it's on the menu, and people go there and they eat. I'm almost finished. Give me about 10 minutes and I think we'll be finished. We'll be through this. Now I have taken you from the Garden of Eden, and I walked you through eating the swine, through bugs and creepy crawly things. I even took you to dogs and cats and rats. But I'm going to take you down to the lowest level of eating. Can't get no lower than this. Man has searched and searched and have tried everything, and his appetite still ain't satisfied. And he said, it's got to be something else to eat. I'm tired of chicken. I'm tired of rat. I'm tired of dog. I'm tired of spiders and bugs. Is there anything else?
Another thing, it was sort of a fringe practice, but it wasn't at all. It was highly popular form of medication.
Consuming human flesh conformed to the prevailing medical views of Paracelsus, who had revolutionized 17th century medical thinking, shaping treatment for more than a century to come. He believed that remedies should resemble the affliction, a concept still maintained by today's homeopathic cures. But today's...
So the homeopathic cures, they advocate like kind cures like kind. Okay? So that means that if you've been bit by a spider, they believe that by taking some substance from the spider and diluting it down 1,000 per million and give it to you, they can make a homeopathy, a homeopathic remedy. And that's supposed to cure like kind. Drug medication works the same way. You've seen the caduceus. You know what the caduceus is? The caduceus is a dead tree and a snake wrapped around the tree. and he have his mouth open, and he's about to bite the dead tree. So what it's saying is that a dead, sinful snake can bite a dead tree and bring life to it. That's what it actually means. And that's the symbol of the medical system, that poison can cure poison. And that's not how God do it.
Amazonian forest, a remote Yanomami village conducts the funeral of one of their children. The final incorporation of an individual into the living members of the group is the only fitting end for a member of their community, and the only way to ensure the survival of a soul.
So they believe that if they eat the crushed bones and plantain soup of a dead loved one, that the loved one is reincarnated back into them. And so if somebody died in the family, they would burn the body, crush the bones up to a powder, mix it in plantain soup, and the closest member would drink it. And they believe that through this, the loved one can come back.
What did doctors prescribe when England's King Charles II suffered a stroke? A, human skull. B, essence of brain. Or C, warm blood.
So King Charles had a stroke. And back then, the doctors was going to practice this homeopathy. And they had to choose between human skull, part of a brain, or warm blood to heal him. And it didn't play. But anyway, they went and they took the warm blood and gave him. He died soon after.
Gate. Then they can't stand up. Then they lie in bed, and people come and carry them out and put them in the sun. Then they're taken back inside the house, where they die.
Good day.
This is a disease called Kuru.
Without exception, the disease was fatal. By the late 1950s, it would have been hard to find a village unaffected by Kuru.
Kuru is very similar to Parkinson and Alzheimer's. It's the early stages of mad cow disease. Look at this lady's face.
The first outside witnesses noticed the smiling grimace that many of the victims wore. They called it the laughing death. The foray named the disease after their word for shivering. They called it Kuru.
So they call it the shivering or shaking disease, which is nothing but Parkinson.
By the time of Shirley Lindenbaum's arrival in the early 1960s, the foray were in crisis.
Kuru had an extraordinarily high incidence in this area at the time, that it was mainly women, young girls and women in their childbearing years who were victims of the...
So most of it was the young girls that came down with Kuru. And the reason the young girls came down with Kuru, and I skipped that slide, is, and I'll let you listen to it right here.
Gate. Then they can't stand up. Then they lie in bed.
Wait just a minute. I want you to hear the reason why the young girls come down with it.
Although the whole society approved of the funeral feasts, it was only the women and children who ate the dead.
Now, so that you get that, right? The women and children ate the dead. And so the men wouldn't do it.
It was their main opportunity to eat meat other than frogs and small rodents, as they were normally only allotted a small amount of pork. Men, who customarily ate the prized meat from their pigs, rarely joined the cannibal meal, believing that it was women and children's food and might sap their strength.
Young men like me were not allowed to eat. We had to be strong to fight and shoot people, so we had to avoid eating people.
And now we are at the very bottom of the abomination. And you can't get no worse than this. In some Asian countries, it is a trend to eat aborted baby soup because they have a limitation on how many children can be birthed. And because it did not curb the procreation process, it was a waste to just dump the children or bury the children. So they found that they could sell the aborted bodies up to $4,000 to very fancy restaurants. And that the patrons were men. Men felt that when they would eat this soup, it would give them more performance, stamina. And so they would take these young children, aborted, and they would make soup out of them, and they would eat them. This is what Satan is leading to. See, Adam, he had no idea it would lead to this. And the succession generations, they never perceived that by partaking of animal food, that step by step, it's going to lead them to this. When the Romans surrounded Jerusalem and they didn't have anything to eat, they ate their children. All right? And I'm going to tell you something. The reason they ate the children because they had the propensity to do it because they missed the flavor of flesh meat. And this is why we have to get the victory over flesh meat. We have to. Because if you don't, then you'll sell your soul for a piece of bread. I'm not got children in here, so I'm not going to show these very long. And the Bible said in Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter, and toward her young ones that comes out between her feet, and toward her children which she shall bear, for she shall eat them for want of all things. So God knows. Take a look at this. Now, I've covered, in closing, I've covered every race. I began with over in the Middle East with Adam. I walked it all the way through the Asian country. I went to the African countries. And now I forgot to go to Europe. I have to go to Europe before I close. And so, because in Europe, this is where the real smart people, well, highly educated people, because we've been looking at all these barbarians, as we want to say, ignorant people, uneducated people. That's the way we want to look at it. Look at these here highly educated people and see what they came up with.
Going on, and the private parts of all the soldiers were severed and were dried, and whole sacks full of this matter was collected to be used as the most costly mummy.
What she was saying is that the soldiers would go out to fight, and they would kill the enemy, and they would castrate them, and they would bring their testicles in bags and sacks, and they would dry out the testicles and eat it. And this showed that they had dominated their enemy and had captured his strength. Now, that's what the men did. Let's see what the women did.
In today's Britain, women who decide to eat human placenta certainly can regard themselves.
Did you get that? These women in England, they're eating their own placenta. Now, for the brothers that may not know what the placenta is, that is the afterbirth. That's the sac that the baby is housed in her womb. Okay? And these smart people got it all figured out. They said, we got to eat that placenta. Now, dogs and cats and animals do it all the time, right? Yeah, they do. If a dog have a weak pup, he will eat the weakest and the sickest one so that he can produce milk for the strongest ones. And if when a deer have a doe or whatever it is, it will turn around and eat the placenta up so it can produce milk for its offspring. That's what a beast would do. Now, watch what these folks are doing.
Sitting down to a dinner of sautéed placenta certainly fulfills the criterion.
Sounds like liver.
It's a human organ, part of a human body, and it's being eaten.
Well, the main thing is that you make high levels of progesterone during pregnancy, and as soon as you have the baby, they drop, and that can lead to postnatal depression and or baby blues. And by eating the placenta, you're just pulling back the progesterone that's been lost.
Now, what she's saying is that when a woman have a baby, her progesterone level drops, and women suffer from postpartum depression. You've seen where these women kill their children and they do all this crazy stuff. They're suffering from a disease called baby blues or postpartum depression when they do that. It's not that they're vicious, it's just that they're mentally disarranged. And so they kill their children. And so she feels that by eating the placenta, she can replace her progesterone that she's depleted of. That's her logic. Who did she consult with that? Did she talk to God about that? No, she talked to herself. She said that I studied this up and I figured this out and that's what I came to. Now she never read in God's word that a woman's supposed to eat her placenta. And this is how most of us face life. Now in closing, now you sisters, y'all may have a good reason for eating y'all placenta. I'm trying to figure out why these brothers sitting there eating.
What texture? What sort of texture does it have? Well, it's not the kind of, I was saying, the sensitive liver. It's quite difficult to say.
The placenta eater's rationale is that their meal contains beneficial vitamins and hormones. It's just too good to waste. The argument that if it does you good, it isn't really cannibalism, informs other medical views. Today's technologically sophisticated doctors prescribe incorporation of parts of the dead within the bodies of the living with transplant surgery and the injection of fetal cells. But again, this is not regarded as cannibalism. The consensus is that in order to qualify for the cannibalism taboo, the flesh must be consumed as food. It's the act of making a meal of another person.
And today we use fetal cells to treat Parkinson and many other diseases. A lot of our cosmetics use the placenta and fetal cells from aborted babies for cosmetics. We don't know that. And since we don't know it, it don't bother us. I'm going to just share this last one with you and then I'll close. And God said, behold, I have given you every herb bearing seed, which is upon the face of all the earth, and every tree in which is the fruit of a tree yielding seed, to you it shall be for meat. So God's demands are still there. God said that this is what I gave you to eat. Now you chose all those other things. Every time we choose something of our own choosing, it's got consequences. Any questions before I stop?